Hey everybody, Puzzle Max here, and we are back taking another look at the mf8 DeCETH puzzle, the deeper cut edge-turning hexahedron. I've solved this puzzle once, and it was a great solve. The scramble I did used only 180-degree turns on all of the faces, or all of the edges rather, because I'm not brave enough to jumble this yet. But even still, just using those 180-degree turns, this solve was very complex. There was a lot to do, a lot to pay attention to, and the setup moves involved in the last couple of steps get very hard to follow. So I actually took to writing those down, writing down my setup moves, so I had something to follow to get things back to where they belong after I did the algorithms. The first couple of steps are fairly easy, especially if you can already solve a helicopter cube. So I'm going to assume that you have some knowledge of how to solve a helicopter cube and go a little kind of quick when I get there. But I am going to give this a full scramble, and then I'm going to show you kind of a outline of the solve. This isn't going to be a full tutorial, and I probably won't even complete the solve on video because it does take quite a while. But I will give you all the tools you need in order to figure out how to solve this on your own. And to be perfectly honest, that's how I prefer my tutorials. I'd rather somebody just kind of show me the basics and then kind of give me some stuff to use in order to help me figure it out on my own. So let's go ahead and scramble this bad boy up. Scramble is just 180-degree turns wherever you decide to turn things. And you can use a scramble generator for a helicopter cube if you have an app that actually has that on it. So let's see here. I'm just going to start making some moves here and getting stuff as messed up as possible. I am using a scramble generator here, so I hope I can keep my hands on the screen the entire time because I'm looking away as I'm doing some moves. This puzzle does have some catchy issues, but when it does turn, it turns very smoothly, and the catching is usually my fault. It's because I'm not paying attention and I'm getting a little sloppy with the turnings. So I don't blame the puzzle so much as I just blame sloppy hands and that type of stuff. It's a very, it broke in well. It was pre-lubed, it came lubed out of the box, but it did break in nicely. It turns even better than it did just straight out of the box. And I enjoy the way it turns. I like the solve aspect of it. It's a lot of fun. And the complexity of it makes it a very difficult thing to kind of wrap your head around, especially when you start involving setup moves. Because those setup moves, there's really no guideline to come back to because so many pieces move when you make a turn. So even just doing 3 or 4 setup moves, normally you'd have some obvious corners and things like that to follow. But on this, it can be very tough to follow those setup moves, and that's again why I took to writing them down and just having some kind of fallback to rely on so that I knew how I'd set things up after performing algorithms. Scrambling this can be kind of annoying because if you try and go too fast, things will lock up on you and you'll have to sit down and kind of make sure that stuff is realigned. But it does turn quite nicely, in my opinion. Down to the last few moves here on the scramble that I'm using. And there we have it. The centers obviously move during the scramble, so you won't have much to rely on as far as a starting point goes. And chances are, after you do a scramble here, you'll end up with some pieces kind of close together that's going to bug you, just like I'm continuing to do some moves here just to get things as broken up as possible. But that looks pretty good to me. Again, full scramble, all 180-degree turns. And in just 1 second here, let me put my laptop away and get things tidied up a bit. And I will show you kind of where to start and how to get some of these pieces back in place. So hold tight. All right, the first 3 steps of this solve are either intuitive or based upon a puzzle that you likely already know how to solve, the helicopter cube. So the first thing we're going to do is get these corners, all 8 corners, in their, I say correct places, but relative to each other, correct places. Because the centers move, it's not worth using a center as a guideline. You can if you want for the first face, but I don't really care. I'm just going to kind of go along with it and see what happens. Red is my preferred color, so I'm going to find a red corner that I want to work with. I'm going to go kind of quick here because if you can solve the helicopter cube, you can put these corners in using any technique that you prefer. So I'm going to get my red corners in place relative to one another. And this is all just big edge turns. Here's my red, yellow, green. My red, yellow, blue is here. I'm just going to turn that down, match it up. So my red and yellow is there. In doing some setups and stuff there, it also put my red, white, and blue in place. My red, white, and green needs to go here, but it's not turned correctly. In order for it to go into that spot correctly, red needs to be up. This needs to rotate counterclockwise. I know that in order to fix that, I can move it around the puzzle once counterclockwise. So I'm just going to go this way. Same in the back. Same on the left, and bring it back around to the front. So now it's in the front right, red is facing up, and I can just bring it down. So now all of my reds are in place. Next up, this one you can do a little sloppy because you're not worried about keeping anything that you've already fixed in place. So normally on a helicopter cube, you'd be using algorithms to pure cycle these corners on the last layer. But here you don't really need to do that so much. You just kind of got to move stuff around and put it into place. So that put the orange, yellow, and blue in place, and the orange, green, and yellow in place. And one more turn here, I can swap these two. So now all of those are in correct place. Orange, white, and green, orange, white, and blue, orange, blue, and yellow, and orange, green, and yellow. All those are good. Now I just got to orient them correctly. The algorithm I have for this will rotate the front left corner clockwise, and it'll rotate the back right corner counterclockwise. So I've just happened to have 2 here that are good to go. This one's going to bring orange up, and this one will also bring orange up. And this is a really easy algorithm. It's up right, up front, up right, up left, up back, up left, and repeat. Up right, up front, up right, and up left, up back, and up left. So put those back where they belong and rotated them correctly. Didn't move either one of these, and obviously didn't screw up anything on the bottom. Next up, I just need to do that again to get these 2 corners oriented correctly. If you've only got 2 that are misoriented, they're guaranteed to rotate correctly with this algorithm. If you've got 3, you'll probably have to do the algorithm twice in order to get things around. You can also use setup moves, so if I wanted to rotate this corner and this corner, for example, I could just move that corner to the back and use that same algorithm to rotate things. But in this position, I've got this one that needs to go clockwise and this one that needs to go counterclockwise. So my clockwise one is in the front left position. I'm going to do up right, up front, up right, up left, up back, up left, and repeat. Up right, up front, up right, up left, up back, and up left. And there you go. All 8 corners are oriented correctly and in place. Now I want to place these big center squares. This uses pure, or not pure, but just up, up, down, down, swapping 3 cycles in order to get them where they belong. So this orange one, I can see, needs to go here. So I'm going to just place that one first, and this is just using 2 opposite edges in order to place things. So I'm going to move this orange one to here. This yellow one is going to come down to here, where it also happens to belong, and this green one is going to come across to here. So it's up right, up left, up right, and up left. Orange one's in place, yellow one's in place. So let's go around, find a couple more. I've got 2 swaps here that need to happen. So that means this will work. Everything will fall into place because these 2 need to swap, these 2 need to swap. I swap one, it'll create a 3 cycle. So let's put this white one up here and bring this red one around. So this white one's going to go up to the white face, following the corners. The green one's going to come down to this blue face, and the red one is going to come across to the green face. So starting this time on the left, I'm going to go up left, up right, up left, and up right. White one's in place, still got my orange one, and still got my yellow one. Now I've got the red one that needs to go here, the blue one that needs to come here, and the green one that needs to come across to here. So easy to go, same thing. Up left, up right, up left, and up right. And there you have it. All of my centers are in place. Now, there is a parity that can occur in this step. So give me 1 second, let me set that parity up, and I can show you how to fix it too. So the parity situation you can run into is you've gotten all of your corners in place, and you have 4 of your 6 centers in place. So my green one is good, yellow one is good, blue one is good, and orange one is good. But the red and the white need to swap. This looks like an impossible case that just would take tons of moves and stuff to get back, but it's really not that hard. The easy way to fix this, the only way to fix this, is you want to take the corner, or the edge rather, that involves both of those centers and just rotate it 180 degrees. That put those where they needed to go, but it rotated these 2 corners. Now I'm just going to resolve the corners using these 2 that I rotated as my guide. So I'm going to put those on the bottom and then just put everybody in place where they need to go. I'm going to go a little faster here because this is the same as the first step that I showed you. Let's go here and here and here. So got all of those red ones down. This is going to mess up your centers again, but they'll be in fixable situations. So let's see, let's go here. And there, I've got all of my corners where they belong. I just need to rotate a couple of them. So this one needs to rotate clockwise. This one needs to rotate counterclockwise. Same algorithm. Put the clockwise one on the front left and up right, up front, up right. And this is what I said earlier about going too fast. Up right, and then up left, up back, up left, and once more, up right, up front, up right, up left, up back, and up left. All of my corners are done. Now I'm going to do the same thing I was doing before to place all of my centers. So let's see. This red one needs to go here. This white one will come down here, and this blue one will come across to here. So bring that red center up, bring that blue one up, bring the white one back up, and there we go. Up, up, down, down, fixed those. And it will leave me with a 3 cycle. This yellow one needs to come up here to this face. This blue one needs to come down here, and this green one needs to come across to here. So up right, up left, up right, and up left. And now all 6 of my centers are correctly placed. That's the hardest part about the parity. That's the only parity that I've discovered so far on this puzzle, and I think it's the only one if you're not using jumbling moves. So that's an easy fix. Now, the next step is a little more difficult to kind of grasp, but it does work perfectly well and makes sense after you've done it a couple of times. You want to place all of your edges. These are the 2 colored pieces, obviously, that everything rotates around. But you have to be careful here so that you don't mess up your centers or corners in the process. Normally, you'd think, well, I can just go something like that and then swap that out. But because the centers move with so many other possible turns, you run the risk of getting those centers messed up. So what you need to do, let's find one here, first of all. Let's see. Here we go. This red and yellow, if I do a turn, I can move on the up left face. I can move this red and yellow back to this position. It'll be oriented correctly and in place. So I can just do that. That falls into place. But I need to find a way to get this out without messing anything else up. I'm only going to focus on the red face right now. I'm not worried about anything else, even if it happens to be correct, because the setup moves can get complicated and things. What this is going to do is it's going to move this red and yellow piece into this position, and it's going to take whatever piece is down right, that edge piece, and move it back to here. So it's going to bring, back to here. So this one's going to go here. This orange and blue is going to come to the down right, and the down right is going to come across to here where the orange and yellow starts. Red and yellow, goddamn. So basically what you're doing here is you're just isolating this piece so you can turn this section to get it out of the way. So rather than me just talking about it, let's actually show you. I'm going to move this red and yellow one into place, bring that around. Now I'm going to get it out by turning this back right section. That got it out of the way. And now when I undo the up left turn that I did, it's only going to affect this center and this center. So it's not going to move centers that I touched with this back right turn. Bring that back. And then when I undo that back right turn, you can see that it brings that red and yellow piece back into place and leaves all of my centers. Because of the way this works and how orbits work on this thing, you can only have these edge pieces in certain spots. So let's go ahead and find another one. Here's my red and white that needs to go here. This is mostly just a matter of kind of calm intuition and finding pieces and figuring out best way to get them where they belong. Now, if I do that same exact move that I did, I can bring this red and white into position, but it's not facing the right way. The red doesn't line up with the red, and white obviously doesn't line up as well. But because it's a edge turning puzzle, if I rotate this front left edge, all it's going to do is rotate that piece. And because none of these edges will interact with this back right turn that I'll have to do to get that out of the way when I make the move, none of these centers, rather. Because that doesn't interact with this, I know that I can just rotate this edge 180 degrees, remembering that as my setup move. This is one of the setup moves that's kind of easy to remember, and then perform that same algorithm. So I need to make sure that down here in my bottom right position, I have a piece that I'm not worried about yet. That one I don't care about yet. So I'm going to bring this red-white one up into place. I'm going to get it out of the way with a back right turn. I'm going to bring this back. And then I'll undo that back right turn. And then remember that I did the setup move on the front left. So I'm going to undo that. Puts all of my corners back. And now the red and white is good. Red and blue, red and yellow. So now let's take a look and see if we can find the red and green. And because of the way the puzzle works, it can only be in a few places. So here's my red and green. I can see that if I turn on the right-hand side here, this upright edge, it brings it up and puts it into place, right where it needs to be. So I just need to make sure that down here in the bottom, the down left position this time, I have a piece that I don't care about. You can do this two ways. Obviously, this piece is already solved. This orange and yellow piece is already in its correct place, oriented correctly. So if I want to keep that, I can use a down back move to try and bring in a new piece. So if I turn this down back, now let's see what's in that down left position. Now I've got blue and yellow in that down left position. Based on the corner that it's next to, it's not solved correctly. So that's perfectly fine. I can use that. The other way is to just focus solely on a single face at a time and not worry about that orange piece that was there because it was already correct. do it your way, just kind of play around with it. So I'm going to bring this green and red. I know that it will orient correctly. So I'm going to bring that green and red up to this position. This time I'm going to do a back left turn to get that out of the way. Undo the upright turn that I did first, and undo that back left turn. Put that green and red in, excuse me, put that green and red in, and now I just have to undo that setup move, which was my down back piece. So get that setup move taken care of, and there we have it. Now that's all good to go. Next up, let's go to another set of faces here. This is where you will need to use those setup moves, because now that I've already gotten this red face completely done, all those edges in place, if I turn the back left, it will bring in a red piece to this position. So I'm working on this equator layer here. So I need to put pieces into this position or this position that I don't care about yet. Because this red is already done, I know that I'll be working from the right-hand side. So I need to make sure that on my left, for my second move, this down left piece is one that I'm not worried about. So I've got the green and yellow piece here. I can see that if I turn this 180 degrees, it will fall into place right here where it belongs. But I need to make sure that I have a way of getting that out of the way. And because my red's already done, I can't do that. So I'm going to use the same setup move that I did before. I'm just going to turn it on the back right. Or back down, sorry. The down back. God, orientation's throwing me off here. Now, this piece, the orange and yellow, is already solved. This is the one I got out of the way earlier. But I can't do anything about this yet. I'm trying to solve this layer here. So I just need to use that for now. It will eventually find itself in a 3-cycle and be usable that will finish everybody off. So remember that down back as my setup move. I'm going to bring this green and yellow around to here, put it in place. Now I'm going to do a back left turn to get it out of the way and bring something in that I'm not worried about yet. Undo this upright turn, and then undo that back left turn. It put that green and yellow in, and now I just have to remember that that down back turn that I did was my setup move. And now it's good to go. So now we come around and let's see where we've got some things. Alrighty. Here is a good case. This one's fun. I've got my green and white piece that I need to solve. This one's in the front here, but my green and white piece is sitting here. If I just turn that, it's just going to rotate it where it sits. I'm not worried about that. That won't do anything. If I bring it back around to here, it puts it adjacent to the piece I want to solve. But if I were to bring that around to this position, adjacent to the piece I want to solve, and this is where the setup moves can kind of make things hard to follow, so write these down if you need to. Don't be afraid to do that. First thing I want to check, after doing that move, will I have a piece here that I don't care about? And I will. So I have the orange and green here that I'm not worried about. Now, wrong position. I was looking at that incorrectly. I have a piece here that I don't care about. A piece that can move into this position that I'm looking to solve. So that first setup move brought that green, white around and puts it adjacent to the position that it needs to be in. And now I'm going to do another setup move on the up front. That's going to put this green and white piece in a position that I can use. Now, here I could get a little more complicated because I need to make sure that this is going to come into here correctly oriented. You can put it in incorrectly oriented and fix it at the end. That's perfectly fine, and likely you'll have to do that because of the 3-cycle that you'll end up with might get complicated too. But my main concern right now is making sure that this green and white can come into position, and I have another piece down here in the down left that I don't care about, which I currently do. So, let's just double check everybody here. Let's undo this front, the up front that I did, and then undo this front left that I did. Now, I thought I was good there, but I'm actually not. So let's take another look, because this green and yellow is already correct. That piece ends up in this position, which I need to use as my swap piece. I don't want to do that. So for this situation, I'll need to get this green and white here in a usable spot, and then I need to put this blue and white down into this position. So I'm going to do the front left again. Bear in mind, folks, this is only my second solve of this puzzle, so things are kind of choppy here, but again, I'm just showing you how I approached things. So my setups so far are my front left, up front, and now I'm going to do another front left. And then I'll do an up or a front right in order to make sure that this piece, this green and white, will fall into place oriented correctly. So my setups are going to be, in order to undo these, I'll be doing a front right, a front left, up front, front left. So first thing I want to do, put this one in place, do that back left turn to get it out of the way, undo that, and undo that. That put that green and white where it belongs, oriented correctly. And so now I have to remember my setup moves here. I did the front right to orient that piece correctly. And now I need to do a front left, an up front, and a front left. And that should put my green and yellow back correct, my green and white correct, leaves all of my reds where they belong, and everything else is in usable positions. Alrighty then. Now, things can still get complicated, so let's just go slowly here. In this spot, I've got these two pieces across from each other. The yellow and blue needs to go here. The blue and white needs to go here. I need to get one of these pieces into either this position or this position. So I'm going to try and get the blue and yellow into either one of these positions, preferably so that I can use the back right as my second turn, which means I'll have a piece here that I'm not worried about yet. In order to do that, I'm just going to turn. I'm going to put both of these pieces, the one that I want to solve, in the up back position, and I'm going to turn the down left. As you can see, that brought that blue and yellow around to the front left position. And now I can turn the up left to put that in place, oriented correctly, and then turn the back right to use a piece that I'm not worried about yet. So let's go up left, back right, up left, and back right. And then I just have to remember my setup move was this down left, undo that setup move. I've still got all of my reds, and now I've got 3 of these pieces looking solvable. Now, we've got one more to go, the blue and white. If you remember from before, when I had these two adjacent, I had to turn this front right in order to get it in place. Because I'm still working with orange last, I'm not really worried about that yet. So what I'm going to do is turn this front right, or up front rather. So that's my first setup move. I have a piece down here that I'm not worried about yet. Don't care if that gets moved. I'm going to turn this blue and white so it's oriented correctly when it falls into place up here. So turn that around. So my setup moves are front right, up front. Now I'm going to do the algorithm. I'm going to move this into place, get it out of the way with my back left, undo that up right, and undo that back left. Now I'm going to undo my setup moves. I did front right and up front. And now all of my red edges are in place, and all 4 edges around this middle layer are also in place. Next up, let's see what we're looking at here. Well, I can see clearly that I have a issue where none of my orange none of my orange edges are in place and oriented correctly. That means that I've got to do at least 2-3 cycles here in order to get everybody back where they belong. So first things first, let's see which one I can do the easiest. Well, if I take a look at it, this orange and white one is sitting adjacent to the position it needs to go into. That means if I just do this turn on the front right, it puts that in a position that I can use to turn it up. So that's probably going to be one of my setup moves. But I also need to make sure that I have a piece in this down left position that I can use as a swap. So what I want to do is turn this front right to put this orange and white down here. It'll be a usable spot, and all it's going to do is rotate this orange and yellow. So let's turn that first. Now, from this position, I can turn the front left, and it'll put this orange and yellow into this position, which I can also use to swap out once I get the white in place, the white and orange in place. So in order to keep track of this, I go slow, I undo, and kind of pay attention multiple times here. So I'm going to put that orange and white down here where I can use it. Then I'm going to turn the front left to put that orange and yellow into a position that I can use. It's down here now. And now I'm going to turn the front right so that this is oriented correctly. So my setup moves are going to be, my undo moves are going to be front right, front left, up front. So I've got everybody there. Now I'm going to do that same series that I've been doing to bring this orange and white into position. So bring that up, do the back left to get it out of the way, up right, and back left. So that's done. Now my undo moves here, I need to undo the front right that I did, I need to undo the front left that I did, and then undo the up front that I did. And there you have it. Now, let's see where we're sitting. I've now got the orange and yellow and the orange and green are both adjacent to one another. This is another series that's going to work exactly like it did a second ago. Sorry if I'm getting close to the camera here. This is still kind of something I have to pay close attention to. So this is a 3 cycle. I've got 3 pieces left, and that means that this cycle is going to place all 3 of them. It may not have them oriented correctly, but it will have them all placed correctly. And if you try and do too many setup moves here, it's easy to get lost. So my main goal here is to just put them all in place. Not worried about whether they're oriented correctly or anything like that. So I know that the green and orange needs to go back here. So with that up front turn, I can put it into a usable position. That's done. And I also know that the orange and yellow needs to go here. And if I do a front right turn, it will put it down here in a usable slot. So I'm going to do that. So far my only setup moves are up front and then front right. So in order to undo that, I'll be doing front right, up front. I'm not concerned about orientation here. These may fall into place correctly, they may not. My main concern is just getting them in place. So I'm going to bring this green and orange around to here. I'm going to take it out with a back right turn. And then I'm going to undo that move and undo that move. Now my setup moves were the front right needs undone and the upright, or up front rather, needs undone. And there you have it. Everybody fell into place. Now, if you come across a sequence or an issue where you have one of these pieces, 2 of these pieces, you can't have just one, you'll have 2 of these pieces that need to rotate. They're in place, but they need to, they're not oriented correctly. It's an easy fix. First of all, you'll likely have them in positions that are usable with the same algorithm. So for example, this one, blue and yellow, and this red and white. Those are the 2 I'm going to be concerned about. If those 2 were oriented incorrectly, first thing I would do is fix this one. I'm going to fix the blue and white. So I'm going to take it out of the correct orientation here. I'm going to do a 3 cycle. I'm going to bring this back here. This is going to come down here, and this red and white is going to come across to here. So bring that up, do the back left, undo that, and undo the back left. And then if I undo that setup move that I did first, it'll rotate that piece and then just undo that sequence that I just did. So instead of starting with the upright, I'm going to start with the back left, upright, back left, and upright. And as you can see, it rotated that blue and yellow in place, and it rotated this red and white in place, but it didn't mess anything else up. So just a quick overview there. I can rotate that piece in place, swap it out for another one that needs rotated, undo the rotation, and then undo the swap. And there you have it. All of my edges are in place and oriented correctly. So, next step is to get all of these triangles in place correctly. This is the first spot where we actually have a pure 3-cycle algorithm for both of these. I'm going to skip ahead and show you how to do these on a solved puzzle, and then explain. There'll be a diagram on screen that shows which ones are going to move, how they're going to move. I figured these algorithms out on my own, but I actually returned and used a video from another person who I'll have his video linked in the description below. He used the same algorithms I was using that I'd figured out, but he was using them from a different angle, and I liked the angles that he was using better, so I adapted his. But again, there'll be a diagram on screen. It's going to show you what I call these and where they're going to go. And that's going to be the final step of this video to kind of show you how to move these around. So hang on one second, check out that on a solved puzzle, and I'll be right back. Okay, so you've reached the step where you need to start moving some of these triangles around. First off, we're going to cover the center triangles and then the edge triangles. There's a few algorithms for both of these. The algorithms will be down in the description, along with which ones they move, where they go to. These are all pure 3 cycles. They don't touch anything else that you've already solved. And while they are kind of long algorithms, they're not difficult because it's repetitive moves. So they're easy to keep track of. The hardest part is just remembering where things are going to go. I'll have these labeled on the screen. I'll have a diagram up on the screen that shows how I refer to all of these. But the basic concept here is that in the center, these triangles are going to be A, B, C, and D. And on the edges, they're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only a single diagram, shows one face, and so I also have how you have to turn the puzzle so that the letters and numbers represent the same pieces for every face. So if you're going to look at the up face, you need to turn here and here for the down face. And then to see the left, right, and back faces from the front face, you just need to turn this way, so that all the pieces stay in the same positions relative to the other ones. Like I said, these aren't difficult algorithms, but they are kind of lengthy. So first off, we're going to cover how to move some of these center triangles. This first one is going to move the left C, so A, B, C. So it's going to move this one to down D. So A, B, C, D. And that one is going to go to back B. So A, B. So we're going to go left C to down D to back B. And first thing you want to do here is just make sure you have in the front. And then it's, oh, come on, catchy. Up left, front right, up left, front right, and then down front, and then undo that first part. So front right, up left, front right, up left, and then undo that down front. Now you want to do a back left. So back here, I'm going to turn this 180 degrees. And then I'm going to repeat the algorithm backwards. So down front, and then up left, front right, up left, front right, undo that down front, and then front right, up left, front right, and up left. And then just remember to undo that back left that you did in the middle. And as you can see here, the left C, that blue one, moved down to the down D, and the white one moved to the back B. And in order to do that in the opposite direction, to get those to move in the opposite direction, you do the same exact algorithm, but instead of doing the back left in the middle, you start with it. So instead of doing it at the end, rather. So you start with that back left. If I can. There we go. So start with the back left, and then just do the exact same algorithm. So here I'm just going to go up left, front right, up left, front right, down front, and then undo the algorithm. So front right, up left, front right, up left, undo that down front, do the back left, then do down front, up left, front right, up left, front right, down front, and then front right, up left, front right, and up left. And that did the exact same thing. It just moved the pieces in the opposite direction. You can do that same exact algorithm, which I'll have written down. I don't want this part to be terribly long, but you can do that same algorithm, but instead of starting on the up left and using the front right, you'd start on the up right and use the front left. And that algorithm would move the right D to the down C, and the down C to the back A. So again, I'll have that written down. It's easy to follow, especially if you use the diagram that I have on the screen. And that's pretty much it. Those are easy to move. The hardest part with these is just setups and getting them into place. And it's really just a matter of kind of following along and understanding where they're going to go. Next up, we've got the algorithms for moving the edge triangles. These are, in my opinion, much easier because it's the same set of 5 moves, just done 4 times. You just do 5 moves and repeat it 4 times, and it'll move things around. So again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Move the puzzle the same way in order to see the pieces on the opposite, the other faces. This first one is going to move front 2 down to left 6, and left 6 is going to go up to back 8. And this one's easy because they're all based upon where this piece can go, travel naturally. So if I turn the left front, front left, I can see that that red piece that was here moved down to the position it's going to move to. And if I were to turn this upright, I can see that on the back, that piece there, the back 8, is also a piece that's going to be involved here. So we're just going to start this. This is a very easy set. Again, front 2 is going to go to left 6, and left 6 is going to go to back 8. And this one is upright, front left, upright, front left, and then up left. And you're going to repeat this 3 more times. So upright, front left, upright, front left, up left a second time, upright, front left, upright, front left, up left a third time, and then upright, front left, up right, front left, and repeat the up left a fourth time. And that moved this red one that was here in front 2, came down here to left 6, and the piece that was here in left 6 moved up to back 8. If you want to do that in the opposite direction, it's very easy, but instead of starting with the upright, you're going to start with the front left. And it's exactly the same otherwise. You're just going to do it 4 times. But this time I'm going to go front left, upright, front left, upright, and up left. That's once. And then front left, upright, front left, upright, up left a second time, front left, upright, front left, upright, up left a third time, and then front left, upright, front left, upright, and up left a fourth time. And that put everybody back just because it moved them all in the opposite direction. That same algorithm works on the right side, which would move front 1 down to right 5 and right 5 up to B3. Again, that works the exact same way, but this time instead of starting with the upright and the front left, you use the up left and the front right. So up left, front right, up left, front right, and then up right. And then up left, front right, up left, front right, upright, up left, front right, up left, front right, upright a third time, and up left, front right, up left, front right, and upright a fourth time. And that took front 1 down to right 5, and right 5 went up to back 3. Same exact thing, but you can do that in the opposite direction. So instead of starting with up left and using front right, you're going to start with front right and do the same thing. So front right, up left, front right, up left, and then upright. Front right, up left, front right, up left, upright, front right, up left, front right, up left, upright, and front right, up left, front right, up left, and upright once more. Move those all back to where they belong. Again, all of these algorithms I'll have written out in the description, along with where pieces are going to move, how they're going to move. So take a screenshot of the diagram that's on the screen and use that along with the algorithms that I have written out, and you can follow things along there. This is a very lengthy process, and it's just a matter of using setup moves and figuring out how you can get pieces to go where you need them to go. So, okay, now that you've seen how everything is possible to move and switch around, I do have a few more tips before I end this. Like I said earlier, I am not going to solve this entire puzzle on screen. It takes a long time. It's going to take me another casual day, especially being only my second solve here. But I do have a couple other tips. For these triangles in the center, A, B, C, and D, these center triangles, because they move around a single corner, so you have left going to down, down going to back, back going to left, I recommend solving 3 faces around a single corner. 3 of those center triangles, all of those center triangles around a single corner. Because that way it'll leave you with 3 faces around a single corner, and chances are you'll be able to set up pure 3 cycles a little bit easier, a little bit better. That was my technique, and it seemed to work quite well. And then for the edge triangles, because of the way they move from front to right to back, or front to left to back, I did that in the same basic way. I solved a front face, right face, back face. So I had these three faces here all solved. And that left me with the three in the back here. That left me with these three ready to go. And that seemed to make it easier for me to set up 3 cycles and things like that for the remaining faces. So hopefully between those little tips, the quick algorithms that I showed you, the diagram that I had on screen, and all of the algorithms that I have written down in the description, you'll stand a pretty good chance of being able to figure this out for yourself. I could go through the whole thing here, but I'm not going to. It would take a long time, and honestly, I prefer seeing a tutorial where they just show you kind of the basics and some tips, and then give you enough tools to go ahead and figure it out on your own. So I think with everything that I've shown you, based upon your knowledge of helicopter cubes, edge turners in general, and the algorithms that I've given you, you stand a pretty good chance of being able to take this puzzle and figure it out on your own from here. So best of luck. Hopefully this was helpful in some way to somebody. And as always, happy solving.